The recent Brad Pitt starring blockbuster hit Bullet Train sped onto the big screen and has evidently left quite an impression on the US box office, grossing an incredible $100 million across the country. But there are still some questions audiences want to know. What did the White Death aim to achieve with his plan, and what happens to Ladybug at the end of the movie? Well, don't worry, because we have the answers for you. Starting off with the plot. The film starts off in a hospital ward where Yuichi, a distressed father, is looking over his child who's been thrown off a rooftop and was in critical condition. The father aims to take revenge. His own father, an ex-Yakuza member, shares his sentiments, and Yuichi prepares to board a bullet train and roll credits, where his son's attacker is supposed to be. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Tokyo, we meet our protagonist, an aging hitman known as Ladybug, who reluctantly arrives at the station to board the same train. We find out that he's been tasked with stealing a specific briefcase from the train on short notice after the assassin who was originally tasked with the mission, Carver, called in sick. Ladybug talks about how he wanted to keep the mission as non-lethal as possible, even choosing to leave behind the gun he was assigned. However, it turns out he has a strong case of bad luck, since pretty much all of his missions end up going awfully wrong, and he also has a habit of accidentally killing people. But before he can get on the train, Yuichi steals his ticket, and although Ladybug manages to get on, he's ordered by the attendant to leave at the next station. While looking for a place to sit, he spots two assassin brothers who are holding the briefcase he had to steal, and manages to pick it up quite easily. However, what he doesn't know is that the train's filled with a number of other professional assassins, all with a certain connection to each other. So, with that out of the way, who was the White Death? Before the train reaches Kyoto, a new character joins the fray, and he's none other than the old man we meet at the start of the movie, Yuichi's father. Going by the Elder, he reveals the White Death's identity along with his backstory. Long ago, a man named Minagishi was the head of the Yakuza, and the Elder had been a loyal follower and member of his inner circle. During this time, a Russian man with ties to the KGB came to Japan and became a member of the Yakuza after demonstrating his strength to Minagishi, quickly becoming close to the boss. However, this man would betray Minagishi and kill him in order to take over the Yakuza, and to make sure no one else stood in his way, he also murdered the Elder's wife and set his home ablaze. The Elder had no other choice but to go away in hiding and protect his only son. Ever since that day, he'd been looking for a chance to get back at the Russians. As the Elder finished his story, the characters who had survived the free-for-all assassin battle royale made a pact to face the White Death together. The bullet point finally stops at the Kyoto station, that's surrounded by masked soldiers with guns and katanas, and the main antagonist finally makes his appearance. But what reason did White Death have to pull off this elaborate plan? A few days earlier, White Death had lost his beloved wife in a traffic accident after her car got rammed into by another car that had gotten away. Turns out the accident had been meant for the White Death, but he had to be elsewhere on urgent business. That urgent business turned out to be the massacre of his men in Bolivia by two professional hitmen, Lemon and Tangerine, who would put a halt on his illegal businesses. On that fateful night, his wife received a phone call from their son, who had once gotten into trouble because of his actions, and White Death told her not to go help him. However, the woman, unable to turn down her motherly instincts, wanted to bail out her son one last time, but turns out he'd been working together with someone who had put a hit on White Death, trying to trick him into coming to bail out his son. However, the wife survived the accident, although with serious injuries, and was rushed to the hospital. Only a specialist doctor had the skills to save her life, but he had been poisoned before the operation by none other than the Hornet, another one of the assassins on the train. Furthermore, what was his plan anyway? The White Death tells Ladybug how he'd planned everything that had happened on the train, and how he himself had hired most of the hitmen, as he was both a firm believer in the power of fate and taking control of one's own life. He had hired Lemon and Tangerine to bring his son and the silver briefcase to him. Meanwhile, he also hired Hornet with the task of killing his son and taking the money from the briefcase. While getting rid of the twins and his son, the White Death also wanted to avenge the death of his wife by killing the man who he believed to be the mastermind behind her death. His name, drumroll please, Carver. As fate would have it, Carver had called in sick at the very last moment before getting on the train because of an upset stomach and was replaced by none other than poor old Ladybug. However, the White Death had no idea about the switch-up and was ready to kill Ladybug, believing him to be his wife's killer. However, it looks like White Death's plan had a few holes in it. While the White Death had already mistaken Ladybug for Carver, there were some other things he hadn't taken into account. First was the presence of Prince, the assassin who had thrown Yuichi's son off the roof and was also the White Death's neglected daughter. He also didn't take into account her plan to kill him with Yuichi's help. Turns out that White Death had always favored his son and had high expectations from him, but by the time he came to realize his son's uselessness, he had already lost both Prince's trust and love. The daughter planned an elaborate assassination attempt of her own, and as such had brought Yuichi, and unintentionally the Elder as well, along with her. The Wolf, the Mexican assassin who had come to avenge the death of his own wife, who had been killed by Hornet at their wedding, was also not part of White Death's plan either. Although his informant had told him that his wife's killer was on the train, he believed it to be Ladybug instead, since he had been present at the wedding on another mission. What happens to Ladybug? After the bomb planted by Prince inside the silver briefcase goes off, a fight breaks out between the hitmen and the Yakuza. At the same time, Lemon, who had regained consciousness after drinking a whole bottle filled with Ladybug's sleeping powder, takes control of the train, driving it again. However, he ends up losing control, and things go horribly wrong as the hitmen try to stop the train before it runs off the incomplete tracks and into a bustling city. Lemon saves Ladybug from getting shot by the Yakuza while he tried to stop the train by taking them and falling off the train while it drove along the tracks at top speeds. Before the train crashes, the Elder manages to get a clean slice through the White Death, but it appeared that everyone other than Lemon had survived the ordeal. The White Death emerges from the wreckage and prepares to kill Ladybug, still believing that he's Carver. However, the only weapon that he had on him was the handgun that he had taken from his daughter, Prince, the same one that she had stuck a bomb onto. The White Death pulls the trigger, setting off the bomb, which instantly blows his head clean off his neck. Ladybug, Yuichi, and Elder all get up and are about to walk away from the accident when Prince too comes out of the debris, declaring her intention to become the new White Death by killing the three of them. However, before she can shoot, she gets run over by a small truck carrying tangerines, which the mid-credits scene reveals to be driven by Lemon, who had survived falling off the train into a river. Ladybug's handler, Maria Beetle, shows up at the scene, and she walks off with Ladybug since her car gets crushed under some debris right before the two could get in, and Bullet Train rolls its end credits. And finally, the film was a box office hit. The film earned a whopping $101 million at the domestic box office. Pair that with the $130 million that it earned at the international box office, and you end up with a whopping $231 million, an impressive milestone for an original movie post-COVID times that hadn't been made by Marvel Studios. The R rating didn't come cheap either, as Sony had spent around $90 million to produce it, so it's a good thing the film managed to generate such a sum. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Bullet Train? Did you like it or did you hate it? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.